As humans, we are the greatest source of strength and resilience in healthcare. None of us, though, are infallible, and we're all capable of making errors. How can we and our teams reduce the risk of errors occurring or things going wrong and ensure that things go right? If we care enough, work hard enough, and are trained well enough, errors will be avoided, won't they? Unfortunately, this is not always the case. Sometimes even the highest trained and most committed people and the highest functioning teams still make errors. Telling yourself or being told not to make a mistake again is unlikely to work. How many times have you or others tried to remind you to not do something again, only to forget and make the same mistake? Don't forget your keys. Don't forget your phone. Don't burn the toast. That's one for me. And I usually don't burn it just once. I go on to burn the next 2 slices. While we cannot eliminate human fallibility, we can act to optimize best practice and to moderate and limit the risks. When we think about all the internal and external factors that affect people in their work on a day-to-day basis, we're thinking about human factors. The World Health Organization describes human factors as the study of all the factors that make it easier to do work in the right way. Essentially, human factors is the science of people at work. By incorporating human factors principles, you and your team can help to prevent critical errors from occurring. So how can we do this? We are going to explore one simple tool that you could use in many ways in your workplace. The Dirty Dozen is a concept developed by Gordon DuPont in 1993 when he was working for Transport Canada. He was trying to understand why errors occurred. He came up with a list of the 12 most common preconditions to human errors in incidents or accidents, and he called them the Dirty Dozen. Lack of communication, complacency, lack of knowledge, distraction, lack of teamwork, fatigue, lack of resources, pressure, lack of assertiveness, stress, lack of awareness, norms. DuPont's aim was to focus the attention and resources towards avoiding and reducing human errors.
We have charts and we just constantly bring the question back to what do you do with this scenario? And we'll go through the CTG documentation, the environment documentation, but we'll also talk about how the human factors impact on the care of that woman or that person.
Looking at teamwork, looking at pressure, looking at lack of assertiveness, or these kind of everyday elements or issues that we encounter, we're actually practicing the Dirty Dozen without even realizing. And I think once we have more of an awareness of it, we can even better be able to improve our practice and effectively deliver more safer patient care.
In healthcare, we can use each of the Dirty Dozen to consider how they may affect us and what are the threats or hotspots in our workplace today. Most importantly, we can then consider what strategies we can put in place to avoid, trap, or mitigate errors. First of all, let's think about pressure. Pressure can lead to feelings of being overwhelmed. We may find ourselves in situations just not really feeling in control. Emergency situations, unfamiliar scenarios can all lead to pressure. When situations are new, we can feel even more pressure. Tasks that we're normally comfortable with can suddenly feel more challenging if we change our work environment even. For example, just moving to another clinical area. Remember that the levels of pressure at which we all function varies. When we feel pressured, we need to speak up. We should all feel empowered to do so at work, and it's so important to talk about this with our teams. Taking stop the clock moments and safety huddles and check-ins all help us to identify and also address those pressure points. We should never be afraid to ask for help and be alert to colleagues asking for help, always making sure we assist them to get that help that they need when they need it. Life is full of distractions. The complexity of healthcare and the multitude of variables that require attention at the same time can all distract us. Distraction can also cause a loss of situational awareness and we just stop noticing everything that's happening around us. Strategies for this can include creating circles of safety for when colleagues are engaged in critical tasks, using buddy systems, or having that fresh eyes approach with a colleague. Stop the clock moments. Safety huddles, they all again determine priorities and help us to refocus as a team. Lack of awareness, this can result from working in isolation and only thinking of what we perceive to be our responsibility. This can lead us to have tunnel vision and lose awareness of what is happening around us. We all need to maintain situational awareness. This means knowing and understanding what is going on around us and reacting appropriately to it. This is also about understanding the bigger picture, taking that helicopter view. Sometimes we can find that we're working in isolation, and particularly when other things are happening then around us, we can just lose sight of the full picture. Using a fresh eyes approach in this situation, even if that's virtual, is so important to make sure we've not missed anything. This also helps us to avoid our own biases by involving our team members. Safety huddles, stop the clock moments, all help us in this situation. These should be a regular part of how we work, but they can also be called at any time if we're feeling that we're losing awareness of what is happening around us. Lack of assertiveness, this can mean that we feel that the way things are done now are just not quite right, but we're not able to say that. We can improve assertiveness by breaking barriers down, looking at our work culture, looking at how we can improve in this area. Always responding to our gut instincts, and if in doubt, speak up. Always listen and acknowledge and explore the gut instincts of others. Practicing our assertiveness techniques in the training environment can help us to improve our skills and also to feel more comfortable with this. Remember that speaking up for safety and working together to encourage and support this happening is vital.
I think the Dirty Dozen is a very important tool because it helps us identify what actual factors that contribute to human error.
Using the Dirty Dozen has really made a difference in creating an environment where clinicians can think more laterally. So it's not just about what's happening right here, but it's about what's happening in a broader perspective as a whole picture for the whole service. And bringing it back to, yeah, sure, I might know A, B, C, and D, but A, B, C, and D don't always work if the environment's not happening, or if you're not focused, or if you're tired or fatigued.
This short introduction to human factors has shown us how the Dirty Dozen and human factors are around us at all times. You may be wondering, how can I use human factors or the Dirty Dozen in my day-to-day working? It's vital we regularly check out what we do and why, check in with one another. We must challenge the various assumptions and preconceptions we all have, both individually and within our teams. We can all start by using the words of the Dirty Dozen when we're thinking or talking about our own individual ways of working. We can encourage our teams to talk about the Dirty Dozen during clinical handover and also during safety huddles.
So in my typical workplace, I think we can use the Dirty Dozen tool to help look at how we work as a team and how that can affect certain ways that make up a team, such as effective handover, looking at our individual selves, looking at our are there any issues of burnout or stress or feeling under pressure or feeling unable to be able to escalate or be assertive?
Including human factors as part of education and also when we're investigating mistakes and errors really starts to embed it in all of our workplace culture.
Remind you that you're human and that the human factors come into play every day in all of our life.
Essentially, if we all start to talk about human factors more, we will all see how refreshing it feels.
Bringing it into your working environment, I feel for clinicians, it's actually created at ease and
I'm sure we will all start to see how it benefits clinical care, patient safety, our own well-being, and most of all, how we can better understand mistakes and errors and prevent them from happening in the future.
I believe the Dirty Dozen is a great tool that should be implemented to all areas of healthcare.